All right, guys, so in this video, we're going to discuss the top 10 qualities of a successful Upwork freelancer. So without going into any further details, let's get right into it. The first point for a successful Upwork freelancer is consistency. The reason why I say that is that Upwork is a journey that has a lot of high peaks and a lot of low peaks. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days. But what you need to do is show up every single day, okay? And what do I mean by that? There are certain things that you need to do on a consistent basis. Number one, what I would recommend is every single day, make sure you apply to at least 2 to 3 jobs. And sometimes you might be like, you know what? There's no jobs available. Maybe they're not fitting exactly the criteria. There's so many things that could happen. There are so many possibilities, but maintain that consistency. And the reason why that is that when you apply to jobs every single day, you work on your writing skills, you work on your proposal skills. Then at the same time, what's going to happen is that you're going to get a lot of interviews as well. Clients will respond to you. So then you're going to work with how to discuss with clients in the best way. And then at the same time, once you have a few interviews and then you land some job and then you don't get some job, it's going to make you think about, hey, wait a minute, last time when I had that conversation and I said this point, I felt like the client didn't respond the way I wanted to. Or you may think to yourself after doing a few interviews that, you know, that point that I make over here discussing this element has gotten me a lot of jobs though. So this training and practice can only happen if you apply to jobs every single day. So that's why I recommend is every single day, make sure to apply to 2 to 3 jobs. Another point that you want to keep in mind over here on consistency is that you want to give yourself a 90-day window to see if you are successful on Upwork or not. A lot of times what ends up happening is for a lot of people, they start over here, they get momentum, they get motivation, they get excited because they see all these videos of people making tens of thousands of dollars every single month. And they're like, you know what, I'm going to go out. They apply to 5 jobs a day, every single day for a week and then disappear. The reason why that is, if they feel that, you know what, it's too hard, I spend too much time, and the motivation, which is all the way up over here, immediately crashes down over here. And the biggest issues that they have, it's not that they weren't skilled, it's not that they didn't write the right proposals or they didn't have the right profile, it's simply that they did not give themselves enough time. So what you have to do over here is that give yourself at least 90 days. The reason why I say that, and again, I'm not saying this based on facts or anything like that, but in my own opinion and in my own personal experiences, I've noticed that when you get on Upwork, the first month, to be honest, it's all about just sort of getting yourself familiar with the platform. You're unsure of what to put in your profile. You're not really sure about your niche. You apply to a job. You're not really sure, you know, if this is the right thing to say or not. And you're sort of in that questioning phase where you're really unsure, right? That's probably going to be the first month. And you make a little bit of progress every single day, watching a few videos, talking to a few people, but that's the unsure phase. But if you continue with these good habits on a daily basis, you'll successfully graduate to the second month, and that phase is going to be about now you're getting the rhythm of things. And the second month is all going to be all about, hey, you figured out this is not the right thing to do over here. This is really working for you over here. And then you can analyze those mistakes that you've been making in the first month, okay? And that's going to be all happening in the second month over there. And then the third month, that's when all the hard work of whatever the mistakes you made in the first month, and then all the things that you learned in the second month, you will then apply those things on a regular basis. So the same things again, looking for, you know, clients, applying to jobs, doing all the right things and working on your profile and learning a new skill and doing all the things you're supposed to be doing. But all those things are going to pay off in the third month, okay? And I know it seems like 3 months, that's a long time, right? Because you watch all these YouTube videos saying that, hey, learn Upwork in 5 days, learn Upwork in 10 days. That's fine. You can learn Upwork. But at the same time, keep in mind that if Upwork was that simple, where in 10 days you're getting a job, everybody, the entire world would be on Upwork. And if the entire world is going to be on Upwork, you're never going to get a job because it's just going to be too crowded. So keep that in mind as well, that Upwork as a platform is continuously getting more and more competitive every single day. So for you to stand out, you have to do the things that other people are not doing. And what are those things that other people are not doing? When we look at in the context of consistency, other people are just not consistent. They'll apply for a few days, they'll do a few things, but again, they're just not as consistent as they should be though. And that's why I say to you, give yourself and give your skill at least 90 days. And I can almost assure you that if you apply every single day, you look for jobs every single day, you are working on that skill that you're trying to promote every single day, and you're learning about just how to navigate yourself as a freelancer on Upwork, whether it's for a full-time or part-time gig, you will get to a point, I can't guarantee it, but you will, for the most part, will probably be able to land a job in that time period, give you that momentum and help you on that path to being successful on Upwork. Now, the second quality of a successful Upwork freelancer is a freelancer that knows how to perform client management. What do I mean by that? Your clients at the end of the day are the ones that pay you. So if you don't know how to manage clients correctly, you're always going to run into issues. So let's take a little bit deeper in terms of what does client management mean, right? Let's remove the fluff for a second and let's go deep into this term. Client management can mean many things, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to talk about 3 specific things over here. Number 1, or the first point within client management, is that you must take initiative. What do I mean by this? Taking initiative means that when, for example, the client gives you work, you should be the one every single day messaging them to say, hey, listen, here's the update of what I'm doing. Oh, I got a question over here. I think this is really good for your business. You need to be thinking from the framework that it must be you, not the client chasing you, but it must be you, the one chasing the client, to get some work from them in terms of maybe they need to give you something, you want to give them an update, getting feedback from them. So the relationship should be reversed. In many cases, what I notice is that the client hires a freelancer on Upwork and the client's chasing them. Hey, can you give me an update on the progress? Or they're asking them, hey, do you need any more help? And the client is feeling frustrated because they're like, I'm paying a freelancer to make my life easier. That's why I'm paying money on Upwork. But instead, I'm spending more money on Upwork to chase the freelancer and ask for updates. I simply want to log into my laptop and find first thing in the morning, I have 2-3 messages saying that, hey, by the way, while you were sleeping, I took care of this, this, and this. That's what a client wants though, right? So think of it from the perspective of the client, that they would love that, right? So in that scenario, taking initiative is crucial to client management. And that could be in a situation where you messed up on something, you're going after the client to let them know, hey, you know what, this thing messed up. Here's what I'm going to do to fix it though. That could be to follow up with them to be like, you know what, you need to provide me more details over here. Or that could be to tell them, hey, listen, I just finished this. I just want to give you an update on this. So that's the first sub point in terms of client management. The second sub point over here in terms of client management is that you need to act as an advisor. What do I mean by that? Acting as an advisor is completely different than someone who's hired simply to perform the work. And those are 2 different things. Let me break that down further. Imagine if a client hires you for graphic design, for example, or website design. When they hire you, they say, hey, listen, I need this beautiful website design for my business that I'm operating right now. Okay, maybe it's a photography business, for example. If they hire you for that and you go, you know what, thank you for the work, you complete all the work, submit it back to them, you get paid and walk away, you're making a big mistake. The reason why I say that is that if you know the industry that they're in and you may have some experience in that, it makes sense for you to be like, hey, you know what, I think for your business, rather than making a website like this, it actually makes sense to have these components in your website. Hey, if you're doing this business over here, or if you're running a photography business and you're running an online shop over here or an online workshop, I think this graphic looks better over here. I think this section that you told me that was supposed to be on the top part of the page should be on a separate page though. When you act like an advisor, that relationship between the client and the freelancer changes. And what's going to happen is that the client relationship, when it changes, your role also changes as well. And when the role changes, the money changes, and then the client sees the long-term benefit in you. For a lot of freelancers, when they get hired, their thought process is, let me get that job, let me make that money, and I'm out of here because I can go to the next client. They don't realize that the client that they have has a business, right? So if they have a business, they probably have clientele. If they have clientele, they probably have other businesses as well though. So why not make the most from that client? And how can you do that? First thing first, right off the bat that you need to do is change that relationship between client and freelancer, and change that relationship to client and advisor, so that you are someone that also performs the work, but then you can also advise them and tell them, hey, listen, I don't think this is beneficial for this project. Maybe put this over here. I don't think this is over here. Maybe you should do this over here. And the reason why that is that when a client is hiring somebody else and they put a job up there, they are not the expert in that field. That's why they put that job over there. If they're not the expert in that field and you're the expert, it's your job to then advise them as the expert that what is beneficial for them or not. And that's something that most freelancers don't understand. But once they understand that, that's the difference between a successful freelancer and the one who's not successful over there. And the last point over here in terms of client management that I think kind of goes hand in hand is that you need to ensure that when you're managing a client, the client is able to see the long-term financial value of you. And when I say that, it basically comes down to a simple equation. When a client hires you for whatever the role is, let's just say you're doing marketing, you're doing sales or anything. Let's just say, for example, in this hypothetical scenario, they need more sales for their online course. They hire you to run their social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all these different things. You're running that over there. If they're paying you $500 to $1,000 per month to run their social media and they're not making that much back in return, why would they keep you hired? Right? There's no need. So you need to be able to show them in your client management skills on a regular basis, like, hey, listen, I'm bringing in this many leads. This resulted in this. This resulted in this much more engagement and awareness. And you were able to then convert the leads over here in order to make X amount of money. When they're able to see that clear linear path between hiring this freelancer has cost me this much, but has given me this much in terms of monetary value, you then put yourself in a position where you have secured a long-term role with a client. And that's crucial in that client management relationship, because if you're not able to do that, you end up getting stuck with what? Short-term jobs. Because you get in there, you do the work, you tell them that's it, and you move on. But the problem over here is that then you're always having to chase more clients and always have to chase them and chase them and chase them. Rather, instead, if you are able to clearly articulate and show that in your client management skills, that you're able to show the client the direct relationship between them hiring you and what they spend versus what they get in return, you then develop a strong client relationship, which is a long-term relationship as well. The third point as a quality of being successful on Upwork is writing skill. Writing is crucial. And it comes down to a simple fact. When is the first time that a client becomes aware of you? They become aware of you in two scenarios. When you either apply for a job or they're searching for a freelancer and they come across your profile. Either way, what they're going to do first is read about you. When you apply for a job, you submit your proposal, right? When they go on your profile, what do? The first thing they do, they read a little bit about you. If your writing skills are poor, the first impression they're going to have of you is that this person does not know what they're talking about. They're not an expert in their field. If their writing is like this, there's no way they're an expert. So regardless of whether English is your first language, second language, or third language, if your writing skills are poor, that's going to be detrimental to your career on Upwork, because the first impression that people have of you is when they read a little bit about you. And if when they read a little bit about you, you are not articulate, you are not clear, and you do not possess the type of vocabulary that the client is looking for, they're immediately going to pass over you, regardless of the skills that you may have, and that if they had talked to you and actually seen you perform the skill, they would have been impressed, but they never got the opportunity because they judge you right from over there. And when they judge you by writing, even though your actual skill might be something else. Your skill might be digital marketing. Your skill might be, for example, you may be a lawyer or an engineer or an accountant. Someone reads your profile or they see your job description, and when they read it, they're like, you know what? This person is an accountant in real life, but when I read their description, it conveys, the way they write, they convey that they're not an expert. So would I really want to trust them with my financial needs? And you may say it's unfortunate or fortunate, or you may say it's a good thing or bad thing, but that doesn't matter. That's the reality. Even when, for example, you present yourself as an expert, the way you're going to do that is through your writing skill on your profile and on your cover letter as well. So again, even conveying that, I understand you can have your certificates over there, you can have other things in reviews of others to convey that you're an expert. But a major component of that still comes down to your writing ability on your cover letter and on your profile as well. The fifth quality of a successful Upwork freelancer is someone that is very good in time management. When I use the word time management, everyone is in agreement that, I completely understand what it means. But in reality, very, very few people practice time management. And the reason why this is so crucial is that if you are on Upwork, you may be juggling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 8, 9, 10 freelancers at the same time. If you're juggling that many freelancers at the same time, and if you're not able to manage your time properly, it's going to be problematic. So when I say time management, what exactly does that mean? Number one, you need to be able to decide how much time you need to invest with every single client. For example, there are certain clients that they need over communication. So in that scenario, you may need to spend more time communicating with them. There are some clients that may need less communication. So then, and for them, it's more about getting the work done. So you need to filter out in your own mind and the way that you do your work on a regular basis and how you communicate with them, that if this client requires more time, maybe for that client, you need to then spend more time in terms of talking to them and also manage it from that perspective, though. And you need to factor that in terms of your day. And for the other clients, you need to factor in the fact that you can get away with spending in less time as well. Number two over here is that when it comes down to client management, it's very important because it dictates how many contracts you can have at the same time. For example, if you are someone that you have a skill and you feel that you can work, for example, if you can build a client 8 hours, but at the same time you only need 4 hours to do the work, then you can calculate to yourself and say, wait a minute, if that is the case and I can build 8 hours but do the work in 4 hours, then that means that based on my schedule, if I'm doing this full time, I can do, for example, maybe 2 or maybe 2.5 or maybe 3 clients in a day, and I can do that in a way that I can manage each one accordingly, right? So it's again, being able to understand that I need to find clients where, for example, even if I build them for 8 hours, I can do the work in 4 hours. And then at the same time, I can find 2-3 clients that can replicate the same sort of formula formula so that I can spend 4 hours here, 4 hours over here, and 4 hours over here, right? So that's another component over here as well. And going further into time management, a lot of times what ends up happening is that there are freelancers who are doing work for the sake of being busy. And then at the same time, there are those freelancers who are actually getting work done. What do I mean by that? So for example, if you're in a situation where you're juggling multiple clients, simply just checking in the client saying, hey, everything's good. I hope everything is well. I just want to update you that I'm working on this is not doing work, right? And it's a poor use of your time. Time management over here is setting up an agenda every single day, and you should have an Excel document, or let's just say using like any of the softwares like Slack or Trello or whatever you're doing, but you need to have your internal system where you have a list of all the clients, list of all the tasks, all the dates, and all the processes that need to get in order to get that project done. And that's something that you need to be doing on a regular basis and making sure that you are executing. So if, for example, you need to write a newsletter for today, don't waste time on giving the client updates about, hey, you know what, I'm working on this, I'm working on that. Instead, laser focus, get that task done, and then give it to the client and say, I finished this today though. So you need to move away from simply just doing things that are, for the sake of being busy, and instead focusing on executing the task so that you can manage multiple clients. Time management is and I can go on and on about time management, and it's a vast subject on its own, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to keep it over there. But most importantly, what I want you to get out of this is the fact that the more you're able to manage how much time you have, the more you're able to manage what your own personality is in terms of, are you able to handle this many clients, and are you able to handle this type of work, and how much work you're able to do, the better you're able to put those clients in a schedule that works for you, and you're able to manage them accordingly, because you want to make sure that the clients are given enough time, the clients are feeling that they're being taken care of, that they're being respected, and that you're developing that long-term relationship and nurturing that relationship as well. So it's crucial that you understand how to manage time between the clients, because you could be managing multiple calls with multiple clients on multiple days, but if you're not able to juggle that properly and and things are falling through the crack, all of a sudden issues will come up. So time management is very crucial. The sixth quality of a successful freelancer on Upwork is knowing how to find the right jobs. It doesn't matter if you can write well and you can do all those things. Those things are important too. But if those things end up getting you the crappy jobs or the jobs that are not the ones that are best suited for you, it makes no difference. So what do I mean by finding the right job? Well, number one, there's the element of setting up the right filter. So for example, are you looking for clients who have verified accounts, for example? For me personally, I typically tend to focus on clients in North America. I've noticed that clients in North America, specifically America, are usually the highest paying, usually offer the least amount of resistance in terms of back and forth. I've been able to develop a strong rapport with them as well. And they're sort of like pretty open with their budget. Whereas I've noticed clients that I've worked with in different countries, sometimes they're a little bit more pickier, sometimes they're a little bit more tighter with their budget, and they're always constantly, everything to them is just budget. And it doesn't really allow the work to get done, because for them, it's like they rather sacrifice the quality of the work in order to make sure that they fit that budget though. Whereas in America, I've noticed that's not the case though. So my criteria is strict in the sense that I focus on clients who are verified, clients who are from North America, primarily America. And then at the same time, I'm looking for jobs where there are not more than 10 to 15 proposals. And at the same time, I'm looking for job descriptions where someone is speaking on behalf of a company as opposed to an individual. And what do I mean by that point? I want to emphasize that point because it's very, very important. If you go on Upwork, you'll notice that some jobs, sometimes they're written in a way that they're written by an individual. So someone may say, hey, I have a few things that I'm doing around the house and I started a small business. So for this small business, I need a little bit of help. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that person probably is not going to have the funds and the ability to pay you top dollar or to pay you the type of hours that you want, right? Because they just started off, they're a one-man show, right? They're probably not going to have that. But then there are certain jobs, the way that they're written in a way that they say like, our company has XYZ needs, and our company requires this, and this though. We are looking for someone with these skills. We are looking to hire someone who has an availability of 20, 30 hours a week. The type of language used in those type of jobs is completely different. So being able to pick up on these small little cues where you have the right filters, but then also looking into the messaging of what exactly is being asked. And you can look within that and you can gauge and assess which clients are the ones that they have a need, but at the same time also with that need, they have the right budget and at the same time the right hours to fit your skill set. There's no point finding a client who says, you know what, I can pay you $65, $75, or $85 an hour, but guess what though? I can only afford you for an hour a week week or 2 hours a week. That doesn't make any sense, right? At the same time, there's no point having someone where they go, you know what, I need you 40 hours a week, but I can only afford to pay you $10 an hour. That doesn't make sense either. So you want to find the sweet spot, and the best way to do that is read the description itself to find clients who have a need, who are willing to pay you a rate where you feel it is justified based on your skill. And at the same time, they're able to give you the right amount of hours so that that full amount that you're getting over there, you feel is justified at the end of the week. The 7th point of a successful freelancer on Upwork is bouncing back. Bouncing back is probably one of the hardest things to do. You're going to deal with some of the best clients and some of the worst. You're going to deal with bad reviews. You're going to deal with sometimes there might be an issue with your Upwork account. Maybe Upwork's algorithms, you trigger them for something, and all of a sudden you get, something happens on the account and you're locked out. There could be thousands of things that could go wrong. Maybe the laptop that you're using dies on you and all the information that dies over there. Maybe your software crashes. I can think of hundreds and hundreds of examples of things that can go wrong. In that scenario, are you someone who lets those difficulties and challenges get the best of you and you can't survive after that and that's it? Or are you someone that can bounce back? And bouncing back is easier said than done. Anyone can say, yeah, I'm someone that bounces back. But what does that mean? That means that can you, after a crushing issue where, for example, something happens to your laptop, or for example, a client goes, you know what, you did some job with them, they're not happy, they ask for a refund, or a client leaves you a significant, like a really bad review. Can you, after all of that, bounce back with the same mentality, having the same mindset, and having the same tenacity to then apply for more jobs, get more clients, and keep going? For a lot of people, they don't. And that's the sad reality of it, because as human beings, we are emotional, we are vulnerable, and we sometimes are put into situations which we're not comfortable with because of bad clients, because of things that are out of our control that occurred. In that scenario, what I recommend is that you need to develop thick skin. How do you go about doing that? There's a few steps for that. It all comes under the umbrella of learning how to bounce back. So one of the points over here is developing thick skin is always remember that the issue is about the specific scenario, not personally about you. So if a client is complaining about the work, even though they may be questioning your ability, just remember that always keep the conversation about the work itself. That avoids it becoming an emotional conversation where the client is attacking you as a person and then you are attacking the client as a person as well, right? So you always want to keep the conversation focused over there, number one, and that really helps in terms of bouncing back, first of all. Number two, keep this in the back of your mind, even on the good days and even on the bad days, that you will continuously face bad days and more challenges, and this is going to be part of your life. What happens for a lot of people is that when they get on Upwork, they get that first job, second, third, fourth job, and it feels like they're on fire. And they're thinking to themselves, like, I'm in this like God mode type mentality where, I can just like conquer everything and do everything. But the reality over here is that the minute you start getting a little bit arrogant and a little bit thinking to yourself like, oh my God, I'm all this, you get hit quickly when a situation comes up. All of a sudden you get that bad review or something happens and you come crashing down. So what you want to do on a daily basis is that regardless of whether in a bad scenario or a good scenario, just keep at the back of your mind on a regular basis that, listen, this is part of the journey. And if you keep reminding yourself that good and bad is always going to be part of it, it won't take you off guard when something bad happens. So that reminder is crucial as well. The third point over here is that sometimes it may be necessary to step away from Upwork for the long-term success. And why do I say that? If you had a really bad scenario where, for example, you had a bad client, it was very draining, it was very difficult for you, sometimes it's okay to simply close your laptop and say, you know what, for the next week, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to take time off and I'm going to step away from Upwork. I'm not going to apply for any jobs. I'm not going to do anything. And what that may do is that it may mentally refresh you and change your perspective a little bit so that when you come back, you have the same mentality coming back as well. So bouncing back as a quality is crucial, because if you're not able to do that, just when you're becoming successful and you fall off the wagon and you stop applying for jobs, stop having the motivation to work with clients, you're going to notice it's going to go down like this, and it's going to get harder to then revive things back up. Because remember, Upwork as a platform, every single day people are applying for jobs, people are getting work, dealing with clients, making money. And remember, more and more people are getting on Upwork every single day. So every single day that you spend not doing the right things, making mistakes, you're going to go one step down and someone's going to go above you. So it's very, very competitive. And that's why you have to make sure that in those scenarios, when something bad happens, you're able to bounce back as fast as possible. I never use the word immediately because that's impossible, but as fast as possible while still maintaining your mental health, your physical health, and just your overall well-being. The eighth point of a successful Upwork freelancer is someone who's willing to go outside their comfort zone. This has probably happened to me every single time on Upwork. I get hired by a client and the client goes to me, hey, I hired you for this thing. By the way, do you know a little bit about this thing? And in the beginning, the first 2 jobs, I'll be like, oh no, that's not me. I have no idea how to do that. And the client will be like, oh, okay, don't worry. I was just asking, and then, the conversation will change. And a few days later, all of a sudden they'll ask me again, hey, by the way, do you know this thing over here? And I'll be like, no, I have no idea. And I'm like, oh, okay. And at that time, I never understood. But now I realize is that the client enjoying the opportunity working with that freelancer is looking to see that if they can expand that relationship. Because for a client, the biggest headache in the world is managing multiple people for multiple things. If you're running a business, it makes it so much easier to have one person running reasonably possible, as many things as possible, so that it reduces the clutter, the workload, the communication, and all those things. And in order to do that, you have to go outside your comfort zone. So for example, I can give you a small example of this. Let's just say, for example, you're hired as a digital marketing expert with a specific focus on email marketing. Now, a client may come to you and say, hey, wait a minute, you're really good at email marketing. Do you know a little bit of design work? Because, for these emails, we need a little bit of design as well. And you could simply say over there, oh, no, I have no idea how to do design work. The client will say, okay, fine, I'll hire someone for design. I'll hire someone for, this part of email marketing as well. And I'll hire all that stuff. But most clients, if in that scenario, you say, hey, you know what, look, that's not really my strong suit, but at the same time, I understand that this is beneficial for you. I can develop that skill, or I know a little bit about it and I can work on that further in order so that, it saves you the hassle and the headache of having to hire someone completely else. I can tell you right now, that client is going to want you for life. And many, many times this has happened to me, and this is the second sub point over here as well, is many times this has happened to me that I was hired for one thing. When I started working, I was doing something completely different. And the reason why that is that sometimes, and not even sometimes, many times, when the client puts up a job ad, they may have 10,000 things at the back of their mind as a business owner running a company. And you are just simply one part of that puzzle. So when they hire you and they go, wait a minute, you know what? I've hired this person over here and they're performing really well. You know what? I think I want to throw them over here as well too, because I think that they'll be beneficial, even though you don't have that skill. And what happens is that the first test is going to be, hey, by the way, could you take a look at this? Maybe you could look at this though. And if you say no to that, they're going to immediately decide in their mind, you are the type of person that doesn't really go to the comfort zone. Or if you're someone that goes out to the comfort zone, the minute they pick up on that, what's going to happen? They're going to be like, you know what, this is the perfect person. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to start from just simply giving them this work. And now I'm going to give them all this work as well. And this has happened to me so many times. And one of my biggest contracts on Upwork literally started off from something that had no connection to what I was hired for. And I ended up doing so many other elements of digital marketing. But at the end of the day, the reason why that contract happened to be the biggest one that I've ever received on Upwork was because of the fact that I was willing to go outside my comfort zone, willing to learn new skills, and willing to challenge myself on a daily basis. The client saw that, and when they saw that, they're like, you know what, this is the person that we need. And what ended up happening was that relationship grew and expanded over a period of time to the point that I was running something completely different, but the client continued to be happy with me. I was happy with them as well. It was a positive relationship. However, if I had never been willing to go outside my comfort zone, that opportunity would have been missed. The ninth point over here, in terms of being a successful freelancer on Upwork, is staying focused. And what I mean by that is that when you stay focused, it requires that you need to remove all distractions. For a lot of people, what ends up happening is that they get distracted very easily. They start thinking to themselves like, oh, I got these few jobs, I'm okay. I don't need to be applying to jobs every single day. I don't need to be doing this every single day. And the same skills that got them to where they need to be, the same things that got them over there, they forgot them altogether. So don't do this to yourself. When you get to a certain point and you stop doing the things that got you over there. So if you apply every single day, or if you make sure that you have a certain routine, make sure to continue and implement that even when I become successful. And when I say over here as well is that focusing on the big picture, remember, when you have the big picture always in the back of your mind, then every single day you know that you can work on that step by step. So for example, if your big picture is my goal and objective on Upwork is I want to make $10,000 every single month as a copywriter. Once you have that in mind and that big goal in mind, each and every single day, you can then reverse engineer that and break that goal down. If that's the ultimate goal, then you know that $10,000 a month equals to $2,500 a week, equals to a certain amount of money you have to make per week. And then if you realize that you have to meet these goals in order to get there, you know you have to then get your level to a certain point, have your hourly rate at a certain point, and do things to a certain level in order to get to that goal, right? So if you reverse engineer that, then you'll know you're constantly working towards that goal every single day. But if you lose sight of that bigger picture and you get caught up in the small things, getting caught up in, emotional disagreements over here, getting getting caught up in bad reviews over here, or simply just getting jobs and just working them and they're out of your field and you're like, you know what, it's just making me money, and you lose sight of that bigger picture, then what ends up happening is that you are just someone who's on Upwork who's basically working a full-time job, not hitting your goals, not doing anything else. And after a while, you're not going to like it anymore because it's not satisfactory anymore though. So in order to maintain that, you have to have the goal and the vision of why you joined Upwork in the first place, always in the back of your mind on a daily basis though. And that you should be constantly working towards that and revising in your own mind how you can get there on a daily basis. So that's why it's very important. And last but not least, the 10th aspect of being a successful freelancer on Upwork is expert status. No matter what, whatever you are doing, your end goal must be to show expert status. Whether the field you're in, the niche you're in, whatever you're doing though. It doesn't matter what anyone says. Sure, there are people on Upwork that they're really good and they made a lot of money being a little bit of everything, and they applied for jobs in different fields and different areas though. I don't deny that for a second. And even right now, there are still possibilities where you could be the jack of all, apply to 10 different jobs and still be successful. I don't deny that for a second. But what I'm saying over here is that in the current conditions that are on Upwork right now, the expert in someone who can do something over and over again and be the expert, that skill means 10,000 times more than a skill where, you know, for example, you can do a little bit of it, right? And it's that famous line by Bruce Lee, I'm not scared of the person that knows 1,000 kicks. I'm scared of that person who's practiced that one kick 1,000 times, right? So in this same scenario as well, you want to be someone over here where you're like, you know what? I'm at a point where I've done this skill so many times. I know it at the back of my hand like this, and I can, you know, do every single component of it. Keep that in mind because that is what people are looking for. People at the end of the day, yes, are looking for the average person on Upwork as well, and people are looking for the beginner person as well. I don't deny that. But the cream of the crop and where you want to be if you want to be successful on Upwork is expert status. So think of success and Upwork as two things that go hand in hand over here, right? And once you understand that vision and goal, you can't go wrong. All right, guys, we covered so much in this video. I mean, just loaded with information. If you have to, watch this over, slow it down, watch it over 1-2 times just to make sure that you digested everything. If this video helped you, make sure you send this to someone else, share it with someone else, share that knowledge because I want to make sure that we all become successful on Upwork. Subscribe, like that video, leave a comment if there's something else that you want me to cover as well, and I'll see you for next time.